Hi guys, welcome and thanks for joining today's webinar on how to overcome WAN challenges with powerful and dynamic secure SD-WAN. Now, I love the new Grumpy series that's out on Netflix on episode 1 of season 2. It's called Lights Out. And if you've not seen it before and you like cars and you like speed, then this is a series you would most probably enjoy. Now, in the episode Lights Out, it is clear that performance is key and having the flexibility to make changes during time of high pressure is very important. And one can also see that some of these measurements can only be done over time. A team would make changes to the engine, race it in the next race, and then determine the outcome of those changes. And the one important thing here is to have data points with clear reporting and monitoring capabilities. Now, I think the same is true when we are taking this to a network architecture level. If you're like most people, then you would make changes in the network, monitor those effects, and see how that compares to the previous outcomes. Tracking these changes over time is also important, and user experience is at time our best outcome and best measurement. And this is where SD-WAN has been having a positive impact as a business enabler. And that is helping to in building robust systems that can reduce total cost of ownership and give the end user a better digital experience. Now, in the industry, we have seen that this is where the network WANs are going through a digital transformation. And in today's session, I will share some insights from Fortinet's perspective and experience on how you can also build a robust network and security-enabled services and overcome a lot of today's WAN challenges. But before we start, just a bit of information about me. Part of my role as Director of Security Solutions in Australia, it is to drive new advanced technologies within the Fortinet business. I'm also responsible for providing leadership and strategy for technical pre-sales and support initiatives. I also work very closely with Fortinet customers to assess their risk posture and investigate how we can assist them in reducing business risk to a more acceptable level. This is the agenda for today's webinar, and we will have a quick view into digital innovation and the business drivers, and we will then have a look into SD-WAN, and we will have a look at the following information. We will look at what it does, we will look at what are the benefits, we will see how this can help you in the type of business that you're in, and we will also look at the architecture that you can need and how you can have security as a strategy and a roadmap around that. There should also be some time to share some innovation and use cases that we have that we've seen people adopting in the market using SD-WAN. And there will also be a quick question at the end of the presentation, and that's for an opportunity to get your hands on a copy of the Digital Big Bang book. Of course, there are some T's and C's with it. This is intended, please, for guys that's in Australia and New Zealand regions at the moment. I will share my email address where you can still email me if you're outside of these regions and would still like to have a copy of this book. Now, we'll be sharing as much as I can in the short time that we have together on this webinar, but I would encourage you to please reach out to me with questions during this webinar that you might have on SD-WAN. And we will try to answer as much as questions that we can during the webinar. But if I don't get to them, please still feel free to send me an email and I will come back to that as soon as possible. Now, we have seen a lot of customers are going through some sort of digital transformation or innovation at the branch level. But what then can we see within the constructs of digital innovation? What we can see, what is the leading force in the fourth industrial revolution? Because there's a lot of changes at times that are driven through the business needs and also the requirements. Now, if you're looking at this from a business perspective, then we need to look at this from a business delivery benefits perspective that is driving the digital innovation. Now, these things are things that should enable businesses to be more flexible in adopting or creating new products or make changes on existing products based on customer experiences. And this is one of the things that is driving innovation within the business. And if we can combine flexibility with innovation, then we are also improving the value back to the stakeholders in the company. And the outcome and the end result we are looking for here is on the focus of having more customer satisfaction. Now, that is the delivery benefits on how we are delivering this. That we have to look, and we are looking at things such as the cloud adoption, the impact of IoT, and the integration of more automation within our businesses. Now, this is also where SD-WAN is playing a role. And here we want to do a deep dive into options and share insights into how Fortinet is using security to be a business enabler. Now, for the guys that's on the webinar and that is new to SD-WAN, let's just do a quick recap so that we can all start from the same page. Now, I've done previous webinars on SD-WAN that is more focused specifically on business enablement. So please reach out to me if you would like to have a review on those webinars. But today's session will be more focused on the how Fortinet can assist, looking at some technical capabilities. Now, this is a quick overview on how Fortinet can deliver a true WAN edge transformation. We have seen the digital innovation, and that is a key initiative that is happening at the branch level so that they can make it cloud ready and have a better user experience with a new cloud and SaaS applications. But let's have a quick review on some business challenges around the traditional WAN, such as slow user experience, environments that are becoming more complex to manage and operate when things go wrong, and the additional cost is becoming a pain point when looking at solutions to grow business. In today's network, we have seen that generally in the traditional enterprise branches that they are using routers, and it does not give them business application level visibility, and all this traffic is going via MPLS and then backhauling data, the data center or HQ back to the cloud. So what was this impact then? It means that you have no visibility into your business applications and your user experience continues to suffer. And this is where businesses have been looking more into SD-WAN, where this technology can play an important role in solving many of those problems. Let me give you an example. Firstly, SD-WAN simplifies the branch deployment and consolidates many point products. And also, with the multiple WAN links, you can now have direct internet access to the cloud. And this is enabling customers to adapt a true WAN edge transformation. Now, with Fortinet, we have deployed more than 4.4 million units worldwide and have a complete SD-WAN solution that is built within our platform. So what are the business benefits then for using Fortinet? When you have Fortinet deployed at your branches, you can just upgrade the software and get complete SD-WAN stack right there at the branch within minutes. You can now have a WAN path controller so that you can do application steering for your business applications and make sure that your performance of these applications remains high. Now, Fortinet is offering a built-in security within the SD-WAN solution where you can use these features within minutes. That means that you can have more integrated security architecture where you can now have IPS, web filtering, sandbox, or even SSL inspection, all of that integrated with SD-WAN. Now, this is giving you the full security-driven networking WAN edge. Now, for those technical guys on the webinar, this is why Fortinet has a built-in SD-WAN ASIC, and I'll talk about this later, but this is what is enabling all of these features together, and performance should not be a problem. So what is it then that customers are looking for in an SD-WAN solution today? They are looking for advanced routing, WAN optimization, consolidate many point products such as to a FortiGate to simplify the digital footprint. Now, Fortinet also has a single pane of glass management system where customers can deploy an SD-WAN solution to a branch within minutes. So what then are the business benefits? You can now make a branch business application aware and make your branch cloud ready. You can reduce WAN OpEx by moving away from MPLS to broadband. and simplify operations. That can be managing the devices, troubleshooting, or even enabling a new branch, all of them in a very easy way. And again, the impact of that is that there is no additional license requirements for enabling and using SD-WAN, and thus simplifying licensing, scalability, and also the cost. Now, many of you might know that Fortinet coined the term secure SD-WAN around 5 years ago. And looking at the previous slide, one can see why and how Fortinet can be a business enabler in helping with the WAN edge transformation. But one of the things that Fortinet believes in is to put our technology in front of different analysts to make sure that our products are working the best out there in the market. One can see here, and I think you that is listening online would agree, that there is a lot of SD-WAN players at the moment. More than 60 vendors in the different markets, within the market, with using different capabilities. Now, I like what Dr. Brené Brown said, in that to be clear is to be kind, and I would recommend to have a look at what analysts are saying. These reports are clear in their understanding of vendors and also customer requirements. So don't listen to the market hype. Have a look at what the analysts in the industry are saying, and there is a lot of different ways that you can do this. Have a look at things such as Gartner Magic Quadrant, and they have released a quadrant for SD-WAN called WAN Edge. But similarly, there are other analysts such as NSS Labs that is great for engineers and architects to have a look at. For them, it was all around putting the products from different vendors in the same testing environment and then share these results. This is a great tool where engineers can have a better understanding into how a vendor's product can perform in real world, both from a performance and usability perspective. And also talk to your colleagues and peers and get feedback from them based on their experience on deploying the solutions, such as a Fortinet Secure SD-WAN. And then we also have the proof of concept. Now, some CISOs are talking about the proof of concept, that is the PowerPoint presentation for the technical teams. And this is a great way to look at your business specific applications and use cases and see how Fortinet can help. So we're talking here about SD-WAN, but it is also good to understand that Fortinet as a business continues to outperform, and that almost 30% of overall firewalls which are shipped around the world are deployed by Fortinet. Now, that also enabled us to have organic growth with our customers. And as an example of the growth is that Fortinet is helping to secure 90 out of 100 Fortune 100 businesses. Now, that also is also helping Fortinet to focus on one of the foundations, and that is building around innovation. So we have a great innovation engine, and the way that we could organically build on these innovations show that the number of patents and growth opportunities that we have in security and also on the SD-WAN space. And I think that is why we have seen such great recognition by both Gartner and NSS Labs. Now, all of this is helping where Fortinet can enable capabilities and solutions that customers are looking for, and this is how we are doing this. One of the key focus areas is to provide an end-to-end security fabric. And Fortinet Security Fabric enables digital innovation and protecting every edge of the infrastructure. Now, for those that is listening online, you might be new to Fortinet, and this might be the first time you see the vision of Fortinet Security Fabric. But please allow me for a second to explain, even if it's not new for you. Now, in the center of the fabric is the network security, and that is powered by FortiGate. And that is where you can enable the next-gen firewall and SD-WAN or data center firewall. From there, we can then expand the use case into the cloud, application security, segmentation, and also endpoint security. And when it comes to risk, the one key component is understanding your assets' value, looking at threats and vulnerabilities, and then seeing how you can reduce the risk to an acceptable level. That's what you want to do, right? Now, for all of these solutions that Fortinet can assist with are very well integrated, we can use a single pane of glass to manage all of these use cases, whether it's an endpoint device or an access point, all the way through to the cloud. Now, what we have found on why SaaSes are recommending the use of Fortinet is also how we can enable the networking team, the security team, and the developer team to work closer together, where all of this can be built around automation. You can also now have the intelligence from our threat team that we call FortiGuard Labs, where we have over 200 plus scientists working on providing threat intelligence, and that spreads across the fabric. So to recap on the security fabric, this will allow you to focus on things such as zero trust network access, security-driven network, dynamic cloud security, and AI-driven security operations. And this is where Fortinet can help you to automate and prevent, detect, and respond to cyber threats. So how can we then bring this into simplicity by reducing the complexity when it comes to SD-WAN? Now, Fortinet has been focusing on these 4 pillars that we are looking at addressing. We have heard from many of our customers things such as having a legacy router and firewall, and that can become very complex to manage, not only on the usage, but also at times from an internal cultural perspective. I mean, who's responsible for what in the organization? We also heard from customers around their poor application experiences, and they are moving towards the cloud, and then they are adopting their WAN transformation strategy. So our key goals with SD-WAN to look at then is how we can help to reduce this complexity, but also consolidate the router, WAN optimization, and firewall into a single platform. We want to provide you the best user and application experience. And that is why, and what we have seen, that the cloud landscape, how that is changing, and we are seeing more and more applications that is now becoming available either in the cloud or via SaaS. And with that, you also need fundamentally to change how you are consuming these applications. Building business application policy will be important to make sure that those business-focused applications give you the best user experience. And the third part is all around simplification and automation. Now, Gartner is talking about this in their WAN quadrant, that almost 70% of today's customers use or are managing routers by CLI or manual operation. And if they are using the SD-WAN and automation to simplify the networking, then we can also save almost 90% of operational savings. Again, this is another way Fortinet can help reducing cost and help with simplification, where you can change the distributed offices from a manual ops space to an automation based, and also have a single pane of glass management. And then the fourth component is around security. Now, Gartner did a report sometime back on SD-WAN, and in there they mentioned that over 70% of customers were concerned about their security posture when looking at using SD-WAN. And this is one of the key considerations when looking at SD-WAN. Although SD-WAN is helping to reduce the cost, if you don't have enterprise security sitting at these branches, then the total cost saving is not really that helpful. Now, what is Fortinet's solution in how they then can assist in solving this problem? Now, I want to summarize this in terms of Fortinet's secure SD-WAN offering. So let's discuss the 3 key elements that you require. The first one is the Fortinet operating system, also known as FortiOS, that is running in FortiGate. Now, why is this important? Fortinet have a lot of form factors of firewalls available, starting from a desktop form factor, starting with 1 gig performances, all the way through to terabyte of data throughput. Now, the OS remains the same consistency, the same features across all the FortiGates. So we provide a complete next generation firewall stack, but we also enabled advanced routing. So we have great experience in building the security stack and networking stack together. from BGP, OSPF, IPv6, or multicast integration. All of these technologies has been built into the FortiOS. Now that is what it's really helped us to build and invest into the SD-WAN stack with over 200 features over the last couple of years. Now, what is the goal here then from a Fortinet perspective? We want to build the SD-WAN to enable a business level application policies for you or on your behalf. And that is why our SD-WAN stack is SD-WAN grade. And a lot of our services and service providers are using it. So I had some customers asking me about the performance impact when Fortinet is delivering all of these features in one platform, and if this is not risky to do so, and how Fortinet is then able to manage that. And for you that is listening online on the webinar, you might be thinking and asking the exact same question. Now the answer for Fortinet on how we do that is that we have built a purpose-built ASIC to make sure that the performance is never becoming the bottleneck when you're enabling all of those applications. Now for the technical engineers that has been following Fortinet for a while, we'll see that Fortinet announced SD-WAN SOC 4, and that is also using the existing content processor and network processing. And that's making sure that all of the networking and SD-WAN capabilities are running with next-gen firewall and continue to provide the best user experience and best performance. And another great capability is for SD-WAN to extend into the branch. Now Fortinet also built its own access point and switches and thus have a deeper integration of AP and switches or NAC with SD-WAN so that you can simply enable SD-WAN branch and take full advantage of those benefits. Now the last thing here is the management and reporting. How can Fortinet help to reduce the burden on configuration and management of devices? Now we have seen where customers have management systems for routing, another system for security, and there might even be another system to manage the SD-WAN. Now customers can fall deep into technical debt when they are trying to configure, integrate, and manage all of these different technology providers at the same time. Now, what Fortinet has done is to make sure that there is a centralized manager that can continue to evolve. And that means that your next-gen firewall, SD-WAN, VPN, even your SD branch, all of those you can manage through a single management console with enabled analytics. And all of these things are not just hardware dependent. Those capabilities are also available whether you are using virtual machine or cloud. And that was also the vision of Fortinet, to enable customers to have security-enabled SD-WAN when they are looking at their WAN edge transformation. So one thing that was interesting when Gartner released the new quadrant is that they did not call it the SD-WAN quadrant, but they called it WAN edge. And because when you think about it, to be successful in those deployments, you need routing, you need security, you need the SD-WAN, and all of these things need to be working well together. So let's have a look at the 2019 Magic Quadrant for WAN Edge. This was firstly introduced in 2018, and this is the second edition we're looking at here. Now, what is great about this is that out of around 60 SD-WAN vendors, Fortinet is now marked as one of the top 3 vendors in providing SD-WAN. And when you're thinking about secure SD-WAN, then one can see why Fortinet is indeed a leading vendor in the space. I will also try to have a link ready for you that you can use and read more about this report and findings. Now, in the same document, Gartner also published a critical capabilities document. I'm not sure if you've seen this one before. Now, this document goes more into the use cases. So the Magic Quadrant showcased the key vendors, and the critical capabilities explains the score when customers use those use cases. Now this makes sense, right? Looking at SD-WAN that is connecting out to the internet, security, it is an important aspect to consider when looking at the threat landscape. And that is why a lot of customers are security sensitive to make sure their security posture remains strong. And again, Fortinet is rated at the top when it comes to secure SD-WAN. So we have more than 21,000 customers using the secure SD-WAN capabilities. Now, one of the reasons for having this big number of customers is also on the easiness of the license structure. Fortinet does not charge extra for the SD-WAN license or advanced routing capabilities. Hey, if you're listening online and you're using the FortiGate today, and you can upgrade the firewall to version 6.0 or 6.2, then you can also use the complete SD-WAN stack. And we have seen a lot of customers are using that, so they don't need an extra router for the routing capabilities. But let's have a quick view on the use cases that we are seeing customers are adopting and why, and looking at the SD-WAN technologies around that, and then how Fortinet can help reduce your business risk while you're on the WAN edge transformation journey. We want to help you to reduce your cost and optimizing the application experience. Now, a typical scenario that we hear is when you have a branch or distributed offices or in your campus, and that you have a separate router, a separate firewall, and sometimes a separate WAN optimization. So the first use case is really how we can help you to consolidate all of this. And as soon as you do that, you can see significant cost reduction and operational savings. The second thing is that if you're using MPLS today, you can keep MPLS on one side and then slowly start to move applications from the MPLS to the broadband link. And we are seeing customers using MPLS and broadband in a hybrid way. In Australia, we have seen where customers are keeping MPLS for the voice traffic and all other traffic is going via the internet. And they are also then using the internet link as a backup link should the primary MPLS link fail. So some customers are going all the way of using two ISPs and using broadband with LTE. And the third important point is doing application steering and how you can make sure that some applications are using MPLS and other applications are using broadband to go out directly to the internet. With that, you can then improve the SLAs and make sure that business applications, the performance, make sure that it remains high. Now let's have a look at what is the Fortinet core capabilities that is helping to drive this type of scenario on this use case. So the first thing we are here is to look at the WAN path controller in the Fortinet operating system. So what is the benefit for engineers and architects such as yourself when you look at this? This is for when you want to use the application steering. We know that there are always a cause and effect, right? So the cause in application identification is giving you the ability to have insights into more than 5,000 applications. And the effect of this is that you can now create a policy around your business application, for instance, Office 365, and you can have that as an application for your business. So as soon as that policy is created, Fortinet can identify the application and send it over the requested link as per your configuration requirements. Another key part then when looking at business risk is the ability to recover when there is an expected loss and when there is a failover to other links. That's also important. And this application steering can be done also per application. And the second part of the SD-WAN capability is the WAN path remediation. This is part of the advanced features in the product. Now this is where Fortinet created a process flow for improving or correcting packet loss for a better user experience. Now we'll be sharing a link at the end of the presentation with a demo using this feature in Fortinet where you can see how this feature works, where you can see the before and after effect when using this built-in feature. But let me give you an example. Let's say voice is an important application for your business and the link that you are using might be very noisy or of a very poor link quality. Now this is where forward error correction comes in. And this is where you don't have to continue to retransmit packets. So if Fortinet can help to rebuild those packets on the other side and give you a much better voice performance. And you can also aggregate some of these tunnels and do the packet steering inside of those tunnels. And this is one of the things that is giving you the edge of doing MPLS to multi-link and then assign different applications to those different links. And yes, to be able to do this, you do need core routing. And this is where Fortinet is helping to bring the networking engineers and the security engineers closer together. Fortinet has an amazing routing stack available, and you don't need additional licenses for the advanced routing feature and functionality. And this is also helping to reduce the design complexity and also simplifying the cost. And when you have multiple links going out to the internet, then you want to be able to create an overlay on top of that. And Fortinet can help to simplify IPsec VPN setup, where, for example, firewall policies are generated automatically on all FortiGate devices that belong to the same community network. If the network topology changes on any FortiGates in the community, such as changing a public IP address in DHCP mode, adding or removing protected subnets, can even be failing over to a dual WAN, the IPsec related configuration for all these devices are updated with the cloud assistance in self-learning mode, and no intervention is required. And of course, you can also do the OT Discovery VPN, that's also known as ADVPN, to establish dynamic on-demand direct tunnels between different branches. And then we also have the transport IPsec overlay. Now, SD-WAN is great, but how can we then look at using security to be a business enabler? And this is where having SD-WAN with security built in comes in. We are seeing a lot of customers are taking advantage of this. Here you can see the features on the left that can be enabled using Fortinet, providing you with a threat prevention and protection. And all of these features can be deployed in a single platform. Now, if you are like most people, then you would also like the following Fortinet feature, and that is the SSL deep inspection. Remember that as applications are moving towards the cloud, we are already seeing around 70% of total traffic is encrypted traffic. And that means that when the traffic comes in, we must do a deep packet inspection to look for things such as malware. But this is also helping us to identify applications, and that is very helpful for SD-WAN. And this is helping to simplify, but also to give you the best available solution using secure SD-WAN. Now, one of the questions that I hear a lot from engineers is around the performance and underlying architecture. And this is where Fortinet is playing a key role in that it developed its own hardware chip. And for the SD-WAN, it created the system on a chip, also called SOC. Now, this is a coprocessor to the main CPU, content processor offload, resource-intensive processing, and driven content inspection. And that a lot, of course, is to be able to accelerate security functions when using the SD-WAN stack. Now, the ASIC in the FortiGate is what is giving the capability for both the SD-WAN and security at the same time. Now, the ASIC is enabling complete application identification, and doing this with SSL is offloaded at the SOC form. And that means application accuracy is high, but you are also getting a lot of performance boost. Now, the second thing is the ease of use. When you are creating those overlay tunnels, that is also done at the ASIC level. We then also have all security that is done on this level, and also SD branch. So that if you are using wireless access point switches, then we can also extend the security through the FortiGate. So when you are consolidating the product to a FortiGate, performance should not be a bottleneck. Now, we also participate in the NSS Labs third-party test. Now, the team at NSS Labs did a third-party test specifically around SD-WAN for most vendors. They make the testing methodology publicly available. They test things such as quality of the voice and video, and they have a look into how the SD-WAN vendors are performing. Now in 2018, they have a very good topology that they had multiple links, with some of them going to the data center, some of them going to the cloud, and then they had to look at the impact on the voice and video where the links went down and the quality also of the experience. So in 2018, we showed the best quality of experience, but also have a look at the TCO. Not only did Fortinet get recommended rating, but they also got the best TCO. And Fortinet continued that success in 2019 test results. Again, great results that is outside of Fortinet's own data sheets, that is also showing the great value and performance metrics. Now, that is all good, but how can you get some of this visibility when you are looking at going down this path of SD-WAN? Now, the good news is that we can help you doing such an assessment. Now, what that means, for example, is that if you are using legacy routers in the branch and you might have a firewall sitting at the branch or in the data center, and you are ready to go into this on this journey of using SD-WAN, Fortinet can help you with an assessment that can assist you to provide you with visibility into the applications that we are seeing, and have a look at the security posture also of your branch or data center. Now that includes visibility into the bandwidth utilization. In the same way, you might have good application visibility but weak security posture, and that could be a problem. If you don't have the right security enabled within your SD-WAN solution, that could be a potential problem. Hey, here is an example of what you can expect. This will show you the results, a view on the specific environment, and the potential impact of using secure SD-WAN. Now, one of the questions that SaaSers have been asking their teams are, do we know where all of your data is sitting? Do we know what amount of traffic is business application traffic? Do we know what amount of traffic per location is cloud intended traffic? And also, do we have visibility in our own traffic flow? And this is some of the insights Fortinet can help with. Let's have a look at this example on what you can expect to see when using the new secure SD-WAN assessment. So one of the things we have found here in this example report is that we've discovered an example 143 business applications, and that in this example we saw over 22% of traffic is cloud traffic. And on the security front, we saw that we could see more than 11,000 applications and vulnerabilities. Now, this is good from an executive overview, but what about the engineers that is looking at some more deeper insight into the applications? Now, this is where we can look into the application. So here you can look for things such as what the SaaS applications, cloud applications, or collaborations you might be running in your environment. And this is something that can help you in creating those secure business policies. Again, we are calling this a setup for SD-WAN. The outcome is to have visibility, which before you might not have had, where you can replace legacy routers and put in secure SD-WAN with a vendor such as with Fortinet, where you can use security as a business enabler. So please send me an email with the subject SD-WAN for business if you are looking for any more information on how Fortinet can help you delivering the setup assessment. Now, just one last thing on the slide, we also have the pen testing component available, and Fortinet has been recognized by Microsoft as one of the top contributors for zero-day or under-attack vulnerabilities discovered. Now, this service is giving you access to the same team that you can do an assessment in your environment. Now, there is a cost associated for this service, but hey, send me an email and I can share more information on this with you. Let's have a look at another use case. Now, Gartner did a report where they were talking about the traditional data center that is there. Now, I think that was more in the sense that they are seeing more and more businesses are moving away from the traditional data center and moving more towards smaller data centers and also to the cloud. The IDC also did a report where they estimated that around 49% of data will be stored in the cloud. We can see that the industry is leaning more towards cloud adoption, and that customers are now looking more into how they can make their branches cloud ready. And this is indeed what we are seeing, where customers are looking more at moving data centers to the cloud and also use the SaaS application. Now, what are the adoptions to consider then when you need to make your branch cloud ready? Now, to make your branch cloud ready, there are three key goals to consider. The first one is faster access to the cloud. Efficient adoption of the SaaS to give your users a better digital experience in reducing latency. And at this, you want to have control and visibility into the type of applications your users are using. And this is to help with understanding your business assets and help determining the cost to help reduce business risk. You want to ensure that you have right compliance and capabilities to enable your users. And we need to see how security can be used to enable businesses to thrive and not to hinder business growth. You might also need some sort of CASB to help with this transition from data center to cloud, along with better controls. So let's have a look into some of these capabilities on how Fortinet can drive these requirements. Now with Fortinet SD-WAN, we have seen, and I reckon that you would also agree, that the cloud on-ramp here is important and also playing a critical part. Fortinet now has the last mile optimization, middle mile optimization, and much deeper integration with the cloud so that you can provide faster connectivity to things such as cloud and SaaS applications. And the effect of that is a better user experience. Now let's look at what I mean by the last mile optimization. This means that this is coming from your distributed offices where you are going to the cloud to any of your cloud providers. You can now learn more by having a FortiGate VM deployed in that cloud provider, such as in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Oli Cloud, etc. And this enables customers to have an end-to-end SD-WAN all the way from the branch to the cloud. And this helps you to enable the SD-WAN application measurement, including what link paths applications should be sent across. And this is improving the performance and thus also the user experience for the end customer. So let's talk about possible growth options in the cloud with Fortinet. And this can be deployed in all 7 major public cloud providers. So that is the first part. The second part is the middle mile optimization. And that is where you might have things such as applications such as Salesforce, Office 365, or even Dropbox. So if you're using any of those applications, once at the branch, we've identified those applications and steer to any link. But there's no FortiGate sitting at the SaaS application. So you might be wondering, how do they make sure that Fortinet is using the best route? And this is where the middle mile optimization comes in, along with the measuring the latency, jitter, and packet loss. Let me give you more detail on that. We have relationships with some of these vendors via our Fabric Ready partnership, where you could have an IPsec tunnel to the nearest POP, and from there that you can have an overlay to the internet on top of that. Now that means that when the traffic is going to the nearest POP, they will make sure that you use the most efficient link to go to the SaaS applications. And that improves the performance. Not all of you might need that, but if you are very SaaS application heavy, you might need that middle mile optimization, and that is a great alternative for you to get that visibility and performance boost. And at the same context, you can use CASB, and Fortinet has a solution for this, and this can give you visibility and control from the application and make sure that your users are using the right controllers and right permissions. Now for the guys that is new to CASB, this is a cloud native cloud access security broker subscription services, and that is designed to provide visibility, compliance, data security, and threat protection for the cloud-based services. So in summary, on this page, we can see that we have a big focus on to do the on the cloud on-ramp, both for the public cloud and the SaaS applications. But wait, there is more. I had a customer asking, now what about the Azure when they have the virtual WAN? So with Azure, we can provide a FortiGate running in Azure, but we are also going one step further. We can also do a deeper integration with their virtual WAN. Now, virtual WAN allows you to connect and configure branch devices to communicate within the Azure SD-WAN hub. So this is an example where you might have multiple branches in different regions, and instead of having those tunnels going between those branches, you want to use the backbone created by this cloud provider. Hey, Azure Virtual WAN is a networking solution based on SD-WAN, and that provides an automated branch-to-branch connectivity through the Azure backbone network. Now, Azure might have a better SLA for their backbone, and the performance might be much better rather than you creating the tunnel between those branches yourself. Again, this is just an option, and there are just some examples on where you and how you can take leverage of SD-WAN and take it to the next level in using the flexibility that Fortinet can provide with the SD-WAN and also in the cloud. And yes, you can do the same integration with AWS with their Express route, and I believe some other cloud providers as well. So in summary on this slide, great to see one can take advantage using SD-WAN between your branches when working with some of the cloud providers. And this is the last use case for today's presentation, and this is all around the simplified management and better analytics. Now, many of you might have seen that the biggest problem in today's legacy network is having a separate router and not having a management product. Now, Gartner mentioned that almost 70% of customers are using the manual way to still manage those routers. So what is an alternative approach that you can then use? If you can consolidate FortiGates across your branches, then we can also provide you with a simplified management solution with better analytics across thousands of those branches. And one of the key goals of faster deployment using zero-touch deployment. So let's recap on some key features. The first one is the ease of deployment of SD-WAN at scale. So let's look at an example where you might want to roll out to a site with 100 locations. You can now do this using automation instead of doing each site manually with manual configuration. We can help you to automate the entire project. So what about scaling? We can scale this up to 100,000 locations using the Fortinet management platform. This management platform can help a lot of scripting and APIs, and this is really incredible, usable tool that you can integrate into your tools. And the second thing that we want to look at is the analytics. Now with SD-WAN, it is good to have the ability to do the app steering, but the next thing you want to be looking at is the visibility in your applications and how they are performing. Because Fortinet can deliver a lot of that visibility, but using the Fortinet analytics component can also give you historical info. And we have seen some customers that they want to have better visibility into their ISP's links and have monitoring on their side to look at the performance metrics on their links. And that's because maybe the jitter is continuously high. And we can help to do way more analytics into that. Now in the same way, we can provide a lot of reporting around that and info into the applications and also the user behavior. Now, what if you want to bring in some risk frameworks for guidelines in how your risk can be accessed? Now, that can also be resolved. And you might think, how can that be resolved and monitored, right? Now, NIST is a great example that we have seen that customers are trying to use in their environments. Now, for you that is also listening online, you might also be looking into something such as the NIST to measure the risk posture in your environment. Now, one of the things I keep on hearing from customers is that this is no easy task, and it does take time to implement. Sometimes this is not only a technology change, but also a culture change that is needed in businesses to help drive this process. Now, one of the things that we have been doing is to see how we can map the regulation frameworks and requirements to the security solutions. Now, here is an example on how Fortinet can help when looking at using frameworks. And again, I would ask you to please send me an email and reach out to me if you're looking for more information on this. Now, we have also heard from customers that they are asking if there is not a simpler framework to follow when looking at this from a starting point. And I think you might agree that this would be welcomed by a lot of engineers. This is where ASD8 can come in very handy. And that is the Australian Signals Directorate Essentials 8, also known as ASD8. And that is looking at the 8 key components and how they can help build in security from the start. Again, this is a simpler way, but it does not mean that it is easier. But Fortinet can also help in guiding you building this into your business architecture or strategy. We have mapped Fortinet solutions to best practices, and we give reports also from it. And we also have a security rating so that we can help you to show those capabilities on compliance reports, and you can also look over your risk posture over time. And this is to make sure that your security posture is good. And we can also integrate this into third-party and other SIEM vendors that you can also integrate this into compliance tools. Now, I know that this was just a high-level conversation and that the diagrams was also a high level, but we do have a lot of architecture levels details available on Fortinet.com. And we also have the solution architect. So if you need more help in redesigning or doing this architecture level discussion, then please let us know and we can see how we can help you. And here is an example of some of the reference architecture where customers have MPLS, multiple broadband, going to HQ or a cloud, and how we can help you on the journey of transition. Now with that, I just want to give you one last example that we did on a large-scale SD-WAN deployment that we recently completed, and this was our North American team. Now, this is one of our largest enterprise solution providers that has way more than 1,000 locations in North America. Now, one of the problems the customer had was that they were seeing a lot of network outages. They were using legacy routers, and once in a while the network traffic was getting dropped and they saw many other tickets being raised by the users. There was also no centralized management, so it was very difficult for them to get visibility, and the user experience continued to suffer. And they also had high cost of MPLS every month, but they still saw outages on their user issues. So these guys went with the Fortinet Secure SD-WAN solution. Now, one of the first ones was that they could now enable application steering. So for business applications, they are using the right links. They also have been using the Fortinet management component called FortiManager so that they can have a consistent visibility and management across the thousands of locations. Now, from each office, they kept their MPLS links going to the data center, and then they also had multi-link, including LTE, going to the internet for direct internet access. So what was the results? The results was the reduction in cost by reducing the secondary MPLS links by going to the internet, and the second outcome was network uptime because of the SD-WAN steering and making sure that they were using the right links. Now, they also have the single pane of glass for analytics, and that was making it easier for them to understand and troubleshoot more on potential problems when an outage happened. Adding all of this together, they had reduced their TCO and gave the users a better user experience. All of this at the same time reducing the risk on the ever-increasing threat landscape. Now, this is just an example that when looking at more than 21,000 customers, we have an SD-WAN solution that is scalable, and the scalability is not a problem for Fortinet. So we talked about security that can be used as a business enabler, and we talked on what is SD-WAN, what are the benefits of SD-WAN, and how this can enable your business with security-enabled solutions, where security is no longer just an afterthought. So guys, just in summary, Fortinet can help you with digital innovation at the branch level with visibility into over 5,000 applications. We can help you with reducing your cost by consolidating legacy routers and devices and bringing in simplification with management, analytics, and also automation. And if you are still online and you've made it to the last slide, then here is the final question for an opportunity to win the book, The Digital Big Bang. And please send this email to cmarais@fortinet.com with the subject Overcome WAN Challenges. Now, the T's and C's are, like I mentioned, you must be based in Australia or New Zealand. You must be sending the request from a business email, so no Gmail addresses, please. You must answer the question, and this is only valid in sending the emails today. And again, guys, this is first come, first serve. And it also must be okay for me to say congratulations on social media. Hey, please send me an email if we could not answer all of your questions, and if you have questions that you have during the presentation. We will also have a recording available of today's presentation that you can review again later at your leisure. And we also will be sharing some links that's available for references, and also a copy of the presentation will be available. So please also connect with me on LinkedIn to be informed on the new and upcoming events. And again, I'm Cornelis Murray. Thanks again for your time today. Lights out.